Hi, my name is Isaac, and I am a student from SAS Pudong. Over the past 28 days, I have been staying here in a small village in southwest China called Xizhou. Throughout the 28 days that I have spent here in Xizhou, I have been interacting and making connections with the locals here. Before we came on this trip, we were given a long list of topics that we could choose from. One of these topics was farming. I chose this topic to be my inquiry topic because I was interested in where my food came from and how farming has changed. After we arrived in Xizhou, I started to interview farmers and other locals about farming. After a few interviews, I had a walk and talk with Mr. Taffel, and he told me that I needed to narrow down my topic. So I changed my topic to farming in Xizhou to how garlic has impacted Xizhou. To investigate the impact that garlic has on Xizhou, one must consider the three aspects: the impact it has on the villagers and farmers, the impact it has on the economy, and the impact it has on the environment. The first aspect that I needed to consider was how garlic impacted the villagers and farmers who live here. To answer this question, I went around the village and interviewed a few people about their thoughts and opinions. I got two different answers from the people who live here. One of the people that I interviewed was Mr. Brian Linden from the Linden Center. When I was interviewing Mr. Linden, he told me that he does not like how the land is rented out to big companies 50 miles away from Xizhou, and the farmers here in Xizhou do not actually get any money from the harvested garlic. Also, he told me that the farmers used to have a sense of pride when they used to grow the canola oil flower during the winter, because the canola oil flower was so beautiful. But now, there is no longer that sense of pride since the garlic that they grow looks very plain and looks very boring. What he likes is that the villagers here in Xizhou are allowed to go out after the harvest and try to find the scraps that the companies did not harvest. I also interviewed Mr. Zhao. Mr. Zhao is a security guard at Yangzhou Ren. Mr. Zhao is a really friendly guy, and the reason why I interviewed him was because he owns a piece of farmland and he also does farming work. When asked about how he feels about the garlic, Mr. Zhao told me that it benefits him because he cannot make that much money by farming. He tells me that the farmers here in Xizhou are not very good at growing garlic, so they rent their land to other people so that they can come and grow the garlic. And by renting out the land, the farmers and villagers here in Xizhou earn more money than they could by farming. The next aspect that I need to consider is how garlic impacts the economy. To answer this question, I interviewed Mr. Zhao. Mr. Zhao lives right next door to Yangzhou Ren, and he still owns a piece of land, and he still does a lot of farming. When I was interviewing Mr. Zhao, I learned that he thinks growing garlic is good because it is more valuable and more expensive to buy. The reason for this is because garlic can be exported to other places outside of Xizhou. But I also learned that garlic uses more fertilizer and also the seeds cost more money. One moo of garlic costs 10,000 yuan for the seeds and the fertilizer. However, after the harvest, garlic costs 8 yuan per kilogram. Not only that, but everyone eats garlic, so a lot of people buy it. The more expensive and the more people that buy it, the more money it earns. And that's why garlic is a cash crop, and that's why it helps the economy. So far, we have learned that some people who live here in Xizhou like garlic, and others not as much. We also learned that garlic helps the economy because it is more expensive to buy. Now it is time to consider the third and final aspect, which is the environment. To answer the question, how does garlic impact the environment, I went to interview Miss Jo Mei from Miss Jo Mei is one of the kitchen ladies at Yangzhou Ren. Her husband is a farmer and they own a piece of land. While interviewing Miss Jo Mei, she talked to me about how garlic is not the best crop for the environment. The garlic plant dries up the soil that it is planted in, so when it is time to plant a different crop, it is harder because the soil is all dried up. Not only does garlic dry up the soil, but after the garlic is harvested, the farmers that grew the garlic burn the roots and leaves and the other parts that we do not eat. The smoke that comes from the burning goes up into the air and pollutes the air. Then the valley is filled with smog for many days. And so by interviewing the people who live here in Xizhou, I gathered enough information to better understand my inquiry topic, which is farming. So now considering the three aspects, we can see that the effects that garlic has on the people who live here vary, and the garlic is a good for the economy here because it is a cash crop. But also, it is also bad for the environment because it pollutes the air and it dries up the soil. Overall, I had a great experience here in micro campus here in Xizhou, and I learned to always be aware of your surroundings and how you need to discipline yourself so others don't have to. There are many people that I would like to thank for making my experience here in Xizhou possible, and and also helping me gather information, supporting me throughout the entire inquiry process, and basically just taking care of me throughout these 28 days. I would like to thank Mr. Lee, the farm shop owner, Miss Young, the farm shop owner, Mr. Zhao, our security guard here at Yangzhou Run, Mr. Zhao, our neighbor, Miss Jo May, one of the kitchen ladies, Mr. Linden from the Linden Center, Miss Maya, our chaperone and teacher, Mr. Taffel, our chaperone and teacher, Miss Yeeling, our chaperone and travel guide, and the Yangzhou Run staff for taking care of me over the 28 days.